Okay, in this video I'm going to show you some different functions, some different buttons. Um, One is called the Fillet tool. It is not fillet, but fillets. So we're going to click on the fillet button, and what this does is this allows us to round the edges. So I'm going to click on an edge that I want to round. I don't want it to be sharp, so I'm going to click on that, and then just like before when we extruded, we can click and drag our little cone here, or we can just type something in. I don't want my fillet to be very big, so I'm going to do like 0.02. Oops, I got 2 decimal places in there, and then click OK. So I gave it a nice little rounded edges there. If I want it more rounded, I can make my fillet bigger. If I want it to be less rounded, then make it smaller. A chamfer is kind of like a fillet. Instead of rounded, it's kind of a cut edge. And again, I don't want it to be very big, so let's type in something like, let's just do 0.08. And see what that looks like. Yeah, that looks good. So I could chamfer this edge as well. And get to my other view here. Chamfer this side. Oops. That's a fillet. I don't want to fillet. We'll chamfer this one too. Okay. So that's the chamfer button. The next one, we're going to try the shell button, but before we do that, we have some things that I want to delete. And so we're going to go back to our browser. And in the browser, I want to try to find, I want to get rid of this triangle, and I want to get rid of this square here. So I'm going to kind of hover over different things that I made, and this extrusion 3 was the hole. So I'm going to get rid of that one. I'm going to right click on it, and then I'm going to delete it. So I'm going to go ahead and hit delete. If you're doing something and you're not sure if you want to delete it or not, you could go down and suppress feature, and that makes it disappear without having to delete it. But I know I don't want it, so I'm going to go back and unsuppress it and then just delete it. So now it's gone. And then this thing that pops up says that you will also delete the consumed sketch. So to make that hole, we made a sketch of a square. So if I leave this checked, then it's going to delete that sketch as well. If I don't delete it, then it'll leave the sketch, and I could extrude it again if I wanted to, but I'm just going to go ahead and delete everything. I also wanted to delete this triangle, so let's go ahead and delete that too. And the sketch as well. Okay, so we're going to hit the shell button, and we're going to click on the bottom. And what that's going to do is that's going to hollow out everything. And how big this number is how big the shell is going to be. So 0.15. Oops, I keep putting in 2 decimals. Makes it a little bit bigger. If I make it 0.2. Makes it a little bit bigger. So whatever I want it to look like. Let's go back to 0.1. That looked good. So that hollows it out. Let's see, what else can we do here? Okay, we're going to do the Revolve button. This one's a pretty useful one. So we're just going to go ahead and start a whole new sketch. So we're going to go to, I call it the eye in the sky, the eye in the upper left hand corner, go to new, and then go to part. So we've got a new part file. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a cone. And we're going to do something that we didn't do before. We started with different shapes that we already had. So we're not going to do that this time. So we're going to click on start a new sketch. This time we're going to do the XY plane. But again, it doesn't really matter which plane, but we'll do the XY plane. And I'm going to use a line. So let's say instead of starting with a circle or square or whatever we want, we're just going to make our own shape using lines. So I'm going to click on the origin. I'm going to go up, and let's make this 1 inch. So now I have a 1 inch line. If I wanted to, I could make my next line 1 inch as well, and then 1 inch and 1 inch, and now I've got a 1 inch by 1 inch squared just like before. So instead of using the square button, I could just make some lines. So I'm going to delete those. I mentioned we're going to make a cone. So if you think about if you took a slice of a cone, it's kind of would look like a triangle. Not a perfect triangle, an isosceles triangle, but it's still a triangle. So here's our triangle. You'll notice one of the lines is green. That has a meaning, and we'll talk about what that means later. But if I took this slice of a triangle and I rotated it 360 degrees, then I would get a cone. So we're going to go back to we're going to finish the sketch, sorry, and then we're going to go to our 3D model tab and then Revolve. And because this is the only thing here, it kind of has already picked everything. But we're going to select the profile, which is the part that's blue. It's already selected. And then we need to select the axis that we want to rotate it on. And it could be this axis or it could be this one. We'd get a cone either way. But I'm going to click on this one, and you can see that that gives us a perfect cone. And if I didn't want it to be a full 360, I could change it, so maybe I only want half of a cone. And there we go, we got 180. So I'm going to go back to 360 here. And there I have a perfect cone. So there's a lot of stuff that we still have yet to learn, but hopefully at this point you can start to see that when we make big three-dimensional objects, what we're really going to do is start with really small things and then kind of add them together to make bigger three-dimensional objects. So I'm going to stop this video and we'll pick up with some more functions in our next one.